okay, this is kind of crazy. And then we fist bumped, and I'd put something up online about it. I said, I just fist bumped a Mormon and Popeyes and Chalmette. And now Paul Sanchez, the musician,
Mm-hmm.
is working on a song based upon that moment.
Wow. Hi, guys. Thanks for joining us on the Elation podcast today, where we enjoy exhilarating euphoria through creation and collaboration. Today, we're here with George Ingmire.
Yes.
How are you?
Good. It's interesting to be on this side of the camera.
Oh, yeah. A little bit different, right?
Yeah.
You're normally on the hosting side, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and there's actually no cameras a lot of times. Right?
Well, that's awesome. Well, we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff tonight, but let's talk a little bit about your origin story, where you're from, and we'll just
Sure.
go from there.
Grew up in Norfolk, Virginia
Okay.
Beach, Norfolk area. Then I moved here in '92. So,
Which, before I cut you off, one of the most, I guess, I don't know how to put this, one of the best experiences of my life and most learning experiences of my life was going through the Norfolk Inlet. I was actually going out of it.
okay.
Um,
On a
and-
boat?
Yeah, so my
Chesapeake Bay area.
out
Yeah.
there. So my dad owned supply boats.
Oh, cool.
And I grew up in that world. And the boats that he had owned since the 70s, he had sold one to a salvage company up in Jersey. Because, they were pushing... Coast Guard works where they push older boats out because they change regulations and things, and then it costs too much to keep up with the old boats, so you have to buy new boats. So he was in that transition of like having to sell his old boats to buy new boats to truly keep going in the business. But in the salvage business, you can kind of do whatever you want. You don't have to have the same regulations.
Sure.
So anyway, so he sold it to a company up there, and my dad called me and he goes, listen, he goes, and the boat was tailed the David Adams. It was very special to me, obviously.
Sure.
He goes, I sold the David Adams to a guy in Jersey. Do you want to take the trip? Will we bring it up there? I said, absolutely. So we left from New Orleans, went around Florida, went all the way up the East Coast, and right when we got a little bit kind of past that Georgia line, when we were in the Gulf Stream, it got very, very rough. And we were getting in some very, very sketchy weather. So my dad decided, hey, let's turn in around North Carolina and go up the intercoastal. And
Sure.
we went out the Norfolk Inlet.
All right.
But that was at like 3 a.m. And my dad made me drive the boat. And I have never been in and out of an inlet that big before in my life. Dead black at night. I'm in a 110-foot utility boat, and the boats around me are 300, 400, 500 feet long.
Yeah.
We're nothing. We're like a fly on the wall. And trying to navigate that in the middle of the night with the navigating buoys and radar and fog and all that stuff was one of the peak moments of my life because I actually did it.
Sure.
So I hate to bring that whole long story into that, but that was my experience with Norfolk.
That's the largest military base, like number of bases on the East Coast. That's big. A lot of Navy, Marine.
Navy, Marine and stuff.
All the branches are there, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, I grew up. I mean, the water's was a big part of my life.
I
Growing
bet.
up.
Yeah,
so
I bet. So
I miss that.
Sorry to cut you off.
No. That's
let's keep
a
going.
very interesting story. The hair on the back of my neck started standing up. I was hearing all that. It's like that sounds pretty terrifying.
It was great. It was terrifying, but it was amazing.
But you would, if anything would have started to slip, you would have been helped.
Yeah,
But
100%.
But yeah.
But at the same time, my dad, I had better eyes than my dad. So my dad was,
okay.
so my dad was, and other things like I definitely have been good in my navigation life and stuff. And I grew up with my dad, charting courses on the map and old school ways, not the normal GPS way and stuff.
Okay.
And plotting courses and following a GPS and all that, or following a compass, all that stuff I grew up with. So it wasn't off for me to do it, but it was just the biggest task I think he had ever put in my hands. Because at the same time, we didn't own the boat at that point. We had already sold it.
Yeah.
So
with your name on it.
Yeah, with my name on it.
Kind
right?
So it's a bittersweet story there.
Bittersweet story.
Wow.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, when you're talking about having to do it the old school way, it makes me think about music
Right.
and how now everything's available. I can pull my phone out and find everything. But back when I was a kid, it was like me going off and to Trax Records or Peaches Records or the local record stores with allowance and some money. My grandmother, my nana would subsidize my spending habits on music.
Uh-huh.
We're talking when I was like 6, 7, 8 years old.
It made it so that much more special.
But I'd learned, I had to find things.
Right.
And now everything's available.
Right. But it made it that much more special.
Oh, absolutely.
Like when you took a record home,
Yeah.
you appreciated that because
Yeah.
not only did you have to take all of that energy to actually buy it, but then you had to take it home and appreciate it.
Take care of it
And
too.
take care of it. And yeah, no, I mean, and my generation's a little bit different than yours in the sense of my biggest remembrance of those moments is going to the store and picking up the headphones and listening to the CD
On the booths.
on the booth.
Yeah, I lived through that era too.
Yeah, no,
right?
I know.
I know.
Yeah.
But I used to do it at Tower on
Yep.
South Peters.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a way to find music.
It
That's
meant-
another era because that's even something you can tell people about now.
100%.
They're like,
100%.
what are CDs?
What are CDs, And God, I thought that was going to last forever. And then they came with the mini disc. I'm like, oh, we're in. We got the mini disc forever. No, yeah, they've removed something physical from music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, liner notes are a big part of it because as a DJ, a radio DJ, I like to be able to give context to the music. I like to be able to say, so-and-so was on this was recorded in such a date or at this studio, all that. None of that's on the MP3. You have to go look at it. You could find it, luckily, but
Right.
it used to be all together. There was something about holding the album as you were listening to it and whatnot.
There was such a story to it.
Yeah.
I just felt like I said, it meant more, So,
Yeah.
but what brought you to New Orleans?
Okay. Well, my story's pretty much like everyone else's who came here. I came here in '92 for Mardi Gras, and I stayed about a day or two after Mardi Gras, and that's when it really captured my heart. Mardi Gras to me, because I was just kind of in the quarter. My friend lived on Washington Park. I didn't see anything more than what you would expect. Kind of felt like it was like just a big party, but it wasn't anything that it's just a party.
Right.
But then I saw New Orleans. I remember I feel like we were at the Popeyes up on Carrollton or something. A streetcar passed by, and I was just looking at all the oak trees and the beautiful houses, and I got kind of captured by all that beauty. And the chicken was good, but all that, and the streetcar passing, and then just being able to kind of ride around for it was like just one afternoon, and I was like, oh, wait a second, this place is pretty amazing. So I quit my job back in Virginia Beach. I was fixing roads, driving around in a dump truck. Bunch of asphalt in the back of the truck, and we would be fixing potholes or doing shoulder work. And I'm like, can't do this for the rest of my life. I got to do something else. So I packed up.
So moving the biggest pothole city of the world.
I would have had job security here, but I learned to get away from that though. Standing on top of that hot asphalt was bad enough in Virginia Beach, but yeah. So I packed up a U-Haul trailer full of like books, a couple guitars, futon, and came down, and I had a room already on General Pershing, 2112, just like the Rush album. It was like a $600 a month rent for 4 bedrooms, a big yard. Got a job at a place called Mike Anderson's Seafood on Bourbon.
Absolutely.
And I could make my rent in a night. It was a different time for all of us. It was cheaper back then.
100%. Yeah.
You were making decent. You could make a slow night would be like $70-$80, but I was in my 20s, so I got down here and just kind of waited tables and screwed around, and finally ended up going to school in '95. But yeah, I just I came to New Orleans, and the more time I was here, the more I realized that I don't have to justify who I am or what I am. Like here, everyone's just like,
what they are.
Yeah, and no one, when people say, what do you do, they're not really asking you about your job necessarily. They want to know what you do, what you're passionate about.
Right.
And if you're a little different, like I've always been, here, you're just like,
You fit right in.
people want you to be who you are.
100%.
Where I grew up, you kind of had to have. I mean, it was a little harder. I mean, I'm not. There's some creative sorts there, but it's a good town to raise a family and go shopping, and there's a great economy. But people say, "Why'd you move to New Orleans?" Sometimes I say because I grew up in Virginia.
Right, 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 right.
But I don't know. At New Orleans, from that point forward, I got a degree in anthropology from UNO. Went on to a master's of fine art and film at UNO, and in the midst of all that, well, the story goes on. I'm sure you have some questions about that. But,
Yeah.
yeah, this has been a town where you can kind of follow your dreams. Sometimes you don't even know what
What
those
the
dreams
dream
are.
is. Yep. Yeah,
A lot of
no.
things just happen
I,
for you.
I mean, so I have my family heritage is a little bit of both stories. My dad's family's been here a long time. My dad's dad spoke Cajun French. Uh, my heritage goes all the way back to Jean Lafitte the pirate's first mate was my great great uncle Nat Chickazola. So I go all the way back on that side.
Uh-huh.
But my mom's side, my grandfather was from a little town outside of Kentucky. Came from nothing. Actually, his first job was digging graves. And he turned that into a sales job, was selling grave plots, and that is where he really kind of like flourished.
All right.
So
Well, you've always got business.
no, selling death. Let me tell
Yeah.
you. But he joined the Navy, and at 19, the Navy boat docked in New Orleans on the riverside, and he never left. He met a woman from the Ninth Ward, and next thing you know, got married and stayed here and
Sure.
built a crazy empire, crazy business, and it's a whole nother journey. But it's the same story. He gets here from another town in America and realizes how special this place is and never wants to leave. It's a special place.
Sure. The first Ingmire came over on a ship too, but it was a convict ship
Okay.
from England.
All
Like
right.
I was able to trace back the history of my father's side of the family.
Wow.
And he was sentenced to being over here. They put him in. He was like a servant in like Pennsylvania, right? And it was for stealing horse saddles and selling them at the local pub.
Wow.
Like he was stealing horse saddles, but not going far enough away to sell
Not
them.
going to far enough way to sell them.
And yeah, I read the sentence and everything else. It's kind of amazing. I was able to find all that.
That's crazy.
Weave my way back, but yeah.
The information age we live in, huh?
And he got in trouble for having children out of wedlock. It was called bastardy.
Okay.
So I was like, the scoundrels and the Ingmire bloodline started a ways back. But it's kind of interesting when you kind of reach back into that. I mean, this ties into all the other stuff that I've been enjoying doing. And
Right,
that's
absolutely.
talking to people about their backstory. And this city, this region, this state is unrivaled. I can't think of another state that has these deep histories, these family
No,
histories.
we are the most European city in the country, 100%. And you go to Europe, the reason why it's such appreciated is you have the architecture from 300, 400, 500, 600 years ago. We have that similar feel, and the quarter won't change.
Yeah.
So for the better or for the worse, we are that experience
Sure.
of America. And on top of that, we blended so many cultures. I just feel like, it's truly a city you can't forget.
No, absolutely not.
Well, so tell me a little bit about your radio journey, and I know you said you've been a DJ for a long time, right?
Well, I started at WWOZ in 2002, I believe.
Okay.
But I made my first tape pretending to be a DJ when I was like 8 or 9. I still have the 8-track cassette of it. My little squeaky voice, and I'm playing records and thanking people like my Nana for helping me buy these records. So you can hear my little voice, and I put on another record. It's like I had just gotten Some Girls by the Rolling Stones, and so it's like I was kind of pretending to be a DJ
Right.
when I was in the late 70s. Fast forward to 2002, and I started volunteering at the station and training, and it just so happened that a woman named Maurice Dejean, who's from Haiti, needed to go back to Haiti, and she goes, "Can you take over my World Journey show? I'm going to be gone for a few months." And I said, "I haven't done the audition yet." And she goes, "Let your first show be your audition," which is unheard of,
No
right?
shit.
Usually you go down into there's like a Studio B, and you do a pretend show, and then they listen, and they're like, "Oh, he's ready," or "We need to train him more." No, just do it. And luckily, I had such a deep love of Haitian music and other world music. I was able to jump into that program pretty easily.
Gotcha.
And I learned kind of over time how to actually do radio, which is, it takes a little bit of, there's a lot of ums and ahs
You gotta
at
get
the
people to
beginning.
engage.
And you got to relax.
Right.
That's really hard to do.
100%, especially in a live situation.
Yeah, you got, and then you make fun of your slip ups. It becomes
Correct.
kind of a thing. You're not.
Correct.
You're like doing it live versus recorded is also a challenge. Like recorded radio is hard for me. But then she came back, and a guy named John Sinclair, who was a DJ, did a New Orleans music show, kind of a countercultural figure. He gave up his show, and I was approached about taking it over. And I don't know why they asked me, because so many other people wanted it, and they were far more qualified. But I think the person who chose me knew I would grow into this show about New Orleans music. He goes, "I want a kitchen sink of New Orleans music." And I said, okay. So I grew into that, learning a lot about New Orleans music. It wasn't like I stepped into that program steeped in
Right.
New Orleans music, but I got steeped over time. And
I feel like that was almost better because you probably get to learn with the experience of the listener.
yeah, there's a
Like,
discovery process
you
that
know,
it makes it more exciting than
Yeah.
just like, I already know this.
100%.
And so yeah, I did that, and then Katrina comes along, and we're no longer, destroys the place we have in Armstrong Park. That's
Right.
where I first started doing radio, and we come back on the air. I was actually the first live voice on WWOZ after Katrina,
Oh, wow.
and it required me driving up to LPB in Baton Rouge. We were broadcasting from there, and then they would telephone it down to the transmitter in New Orleans.
Wow.
So we were driving up. It was great because there were grocery stores up there. There weren't a lot of grocery stores right after Katrina,
No, there
if
wasn't.
you recall.
No, there
I would
wasn't.
go up there. I felt like I'd come back from a great hunt because
Right,
I'd
right,
hit the
right.
Whole Foods on the way back. But I was the first live voice on the air, and I had the recording of it. And you can hear. I almost cried because it was just so. You're like, oh man, how's everybody doing?
Right.
And that also kind of caused me to take radio documentaries more seriously. So I started recording people's stories about their recovery stories, Mardi Gras Indians, the closure of the St. Augustine Church, the passing of a number of people that happened right after Katrina. So all that became my focus. I began to take it more seriously, and this was after I'd finished my film degree, my degree in anthropology. Then all those things started coming into play with the radio documentary. My first interviews were done on a digital 8 camera, lens cap on. I just plugged a microphone in because I didn't have an audio recorder yet.
Got you.
I was recording onto a videotape,
Yeah.
digitizing the videotape, and editing the audio in Final Cut. There was no image.
Wow.
But I didn't have the know-how or the software wasn't as easily available. And I was cutting together these little pieces that then led into me doing a national program starting in 2008 called New Orleans All the Way Live. That became New Orleans Calling, that focused on the music, food, and culture of the city. So I was covering interviews with musicians and chefs and event organizers, and we were adding New Orleans recordings that were either done by OZ or studio. And that's where it became hard because I was doing it like I was producing it and having to like read a script. And it's hard. I don't know if you've like the difference, because here we are live, even if this
So I've done some short films in my life in LA when I was doing that, and I was doing more sound design / production stuff, and I've been asked a few times to act in those films because they couldn't find anybody else to fill that role.
Sure.
And I was horrible because I can't read a script and be normal. It just can't. I'm more of this
Yeah.
conversation.
Sure.
We could talk about absolutely anything.
I get that.
You know what I mean?
I can see that.
And I, I pride myself on knowing a little bit about everything, so I can kind of figure out a way where I can follow along the story, or at least understand
Sure.
what you're talking about. In a script moment, unless I have a mask on and I'm doing like some horror film, I don't think I could actually portray somebody.
Well, when you mention the mask, we could talk about like the role of the mask in this cult, like in New Orleans culture, the masking Indians, and then
100%.
also Carnival Day, and how we become something different when wearing that mask.
Right.
So it's like your sense of self is no longer under threat because
100%.
Something shifted in you. Whereas
100%.
but doing it live is also what we do day to day. Like, you can go down the street to the grocery store and have some Merlotons on the conveyor, and somebody's going to be like, "What are you going to do with those?" And then they're going to tell you their recipe, and like
100%.
people are always kind of doing that.
That doesn't happen outside New Orleans.
I tried to do it in Mandeville, and people started walking away from me like I was crazy.
Listen, I got to L.A. and I was single, and I got to L.A. and I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna go to a sports bar and watch a game and maybe try to talk to a waitress or something. I look like the damn weird uncle at like the family reunion. Like what are you doing talking to me? Why are you bringing up like anything that has to do with other than ordering? But New Orleans isn't like that.
No.
I think that's why people love it. They can come down here and they can sit next to somebody they don't know and have an hour-long conversation and learn something from somebody.
And somebody who's as famous as Alan Toussaint will do that with you as well. Like
right.
he would talk to you, you'd run into him, and he would call me sometimes on the radio and say, "You're playing music I forgot I wrote," or whatever. Or I get a call from both Art and Aaron Neville one time when it was Art's birthday. They were both calling me to tell me it was his birthday, and we were having conversations. It's like these are people that play music around the world,
right?
But they will hold a conversation with you because everybody's a star here. As one of the Mardi Gras Indians told me, a guy named Coach from Fayaya, he goes, "George, we're all stars in this city," and I was like, all right, I get it.
I like that.
We all have a point. We have a moment of shining.
We all have a moment. I like that.
You go out there and somebody's going to be like, dig what you're wearing, your threads or whatever. I struck up a conversation. Actually, it was in Chalmette, but close enough to New Orleans. I had some nice glasses on, and these Mormons, this guy walked up to me and goes, "Man, I like your glasses." And I'm like, "Well, thank you." And we started talking, and I'm like, okay, this is kind of crazy. And then we fist bumped, and I put something up online about it. I said, I just fist bumped a Mormon in Popeyes in Chalmette. And now Paul Sanchez, the musician, is working on a song based upon that moment.
Wow, that's awesome.
So there may be a song coming out soon.
That's awesome.
He's got other people writing the lyrics, and I'm like, it's just like these, you get these crazy, great ideas by virtue of just walking out your front door here,
100%.
Right? You're inspired. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Some of those stories are a little tough.
Well, yeah, but and those are good to sing about too.
Yeah, well, you get through it by singing about it sometimes.
Yeah, 100%.
Or writing about it.
How do you feel the DJ culture is right now?
Well, I mean, depends on what you're talking about. There's a lot of DJ cultures elements that I don't know a lot about because I don't get out as much as I don't go out to the late night things as much. So there's a lot more than I can speak of authoritatively. I'd like to know more about it, but there are a lot of great DJs there. There's this one DJ, Funke, Funke, who blows my mind because she brings in all these elements that I love, like house-style music, but also like Afro-Caribbean music, and it all comes together. So that's a great scene. I can only speak from my own perspective, and I DJ at places like Bud Rips, or I do a monthly gig at a wine shop, Faubourg Wines. And I'm just like playing music for y'all to be able to have conversation. But also I want you to be like, well, what's that?
Right.
But continue your conversation. So there's a bigger DJ scene here than most people would imagine. I think it's growing bigger in a lot of ways. There's the whole vinyl scene. People love to.
Well, so I was going to ask you because, you're old enough to have DJ'd on vinyl, which I've done.
Yeah.
So.
I did. In junior high, I was in a group called the Knights at the Turntable.
Okay.
And I played the slow jams, the belly rubbers.
Gotcha.
That was the one playing like the Patti LaBelle and the Luther Vandross and the Rick James and Tina Marie, Fire and Desire and Lady of My Life, Michael Jackson. And then the other DJ from Philadelphia was playing the hip hop, the upbeat stuff. But
Gotcha.
so I would get in there and play 2 or 3 songs, and then he would take over the turntables again.
Gotcha.
So that was my vinyl experience. But since then, I do vinyl only selective moments
Okay.
because it's a pain.
It's a pain in the ass.
Each piece of album has every album has its own personality,
right?
loudness levels,
Depending
what
on the
shape it's
the
in,
humidity that the thing was kept in, and all that
and your
stuff.
choices are a lot more limited.
Right. No,
and I like
yeah.
I like to sometimes blend music. Sometimes I like to beat match and make new things in real time with that. And people do that on vinyl, but I'm not.
It's very yeah. So I started on vinyl because I DJ'd early on. It's probably when I was 15, 16-ish.
Here in New Orleans?
Yeah, I had a friend, Marshall Monica. I don't know if you know Marshall. He used to DJ all the strip clubs in town, and
Probably why I don't know him.
yeah, and somehow he convinced one of the strip clubs, I forget which one, to let me DJ. I was 15. And
New Orleans.
And that was the start of my DJ career. But he had twin 1200 techniques, and it was deep house. It was all deep house stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was everything was on vinyl. I had to learn how to match keys and match tempos and do all that on vinyl, and it is not easy to do.
Now you can just like in Tractor, which I work in, you're like, you can click on the key that the song you're playing. You can click on a little magnifying, and it'll bring up all the songs that are either in that key or within like a fifth of it, or a relative minor or whatever.
Right.
And or also BPMs, and then it's kind of a lot easier to build stuff out that way.
Right. Yeah. 100%. Yeah, we were just messed up trying to figure out what to play next.
And you got to also please the clientele. That's one of the things I struggle with
Yes.
as a DJ. Is I get gigs that I get paid for, and they want to hear music that doesn't really excite me. But it's a paid gig, so I got to just do my thing.
Right.
But I've gotten gigs where they're like, just play what you're going to play, and we'll pay you. Like I got a gig, and I played in Lincoln Center in 2022, and I brought New Orleans music with me. It was not vinyl. I brought a laptop, but I was right there by the fountain in Lincoln Center playing. There was a band called Lulu and the Broadsides, a local band, and they needed a DJ, and they recommended me, so I got up there. And I wasn't given any guidance, but I knew the people that are coming here for this style of music, so I stayed within a certain time frame. But I was just there playing what I loved. Opened with the Lee Dorsey song, Ride Your Pony, and just looked out there, and I was like, I can't even say I dreamed of this, because I would have never imagined playing Lincoln Center or Brooklyn Bowl or a couple bars in Brooklyn, or, it's like, those are the places where you just go, okay, all this time I spent on music, which if I would have spent on the stock market, I'd probably be a rich man instead of like just knowledgeable in music. But I'm a happy man, right? I mean, the amount of time you spend going down the,
I hear you.
I'm sitting in on a show tomorrow, New Orleans music show tomorrow, and I used to spend 4 or 5 hours on a 3-hour show. Now I'm just like, just bring a bunch with me. I'll figure out the first 2 songs.
Right. And go from there.
Because some of your best stuff is when you don't think it, overthink it.
100%. Well, even for, like doing these podcasts, like it's great doing the pre-production meetings. It's great knowing everything. But
sure.
But half the shit that we write down, I don't necessarily bring up all the time because it doesn't necessarily come in the conversation.
I was thankful that I got the questions to look at, but I also glanced at them. Then I stopped because I'm like, all right, I can't preform any of these questions because I don't really. Yeah. I'm going to stumble through it trying to remember what I was going to say.
100%.
Versus like, all right, this is what I'm thinking at this moment. That's what's great about doing radio, is it forces you to be in the moment.
Right.
DJing, you at your best, you have to be moment by moment aware of whatever that thing is that's
100%.
moving you forward. And sometimes you see the people. If you're DJing, you see people. If you're on the radio, you have no idea. But sometimes even then, oh, this isn't working.
Right.
Or this is working.
Right. Well, you could feel the vibe.
Yeah.
You can feel the vibe. You can feel the blend. You can feel when to cut and when to not. And that's when that comes with knowledge and experience.
Yeah, there's a sensitivity. I've had people say, "You're going all over the place, but I know what I'm following why you're doing what you're doing because I may be over here with this vibe and over suddenly I'm over there. I might be playing some music from Bali, but then you're going to hear The Healer by Erykah Badu because the opening of that tune's got like a Balinesian element in it. So it becomes one piece to me all of a sudden, and then I'm
Right.
like, all right, well I can go from this to Missy Elliott because there's a great tune that blends, but then I might be off to some Cuban tune after that. And so you've
Right.
gone from Balanesia to Erykah Badu to Missy Elliott to somewhere in Cuba,
But music is
down to
universal, and
bounce or
but
whatever.
music is universal, and it pulls from everything. You know,
Yeah.
so there's different elements of different cultures and all kinds of music. So you could definitely
Yeah.
mix and match.
And you got to just kind of it's something about it is you just got to kind of have a sense of what the music is. You got to get inside the music. It's hard when you show up and you don't really know the music and you're supposed to play it because you're like, I mean, I even for a Taylor Swift gig, I did 2 gigs of Taylor Swift's music at the Hyatt when she was here
Mhm.
recently. I didn't know any of her music, and I spent about $120 buying it,
Right.
MP3s and stuff of it. And I spent a long time with her music, and it wasn't like I was like, oh, this is amazing, but I was like, as a DJ, this is actually amazing stuff. I can hear how this and this and this will go together. Plus, every song by Taylor Swift is loved by all her
All
fans.
fans,
So
right.
you're not gonna
You're not
hit
gonna lose.
You're not gonna lose. Just play something by her. So
Yeah.
my task for myself was let me figure out how to make this become like this one piece, or I can play a remix of something. But I didn't try to play anybody else's music. Somebody's like, you should play some stuff that kind of like she would have been influenced by. I'm like, I'm not here to school people.
Mm-mm.
Sometimes you're here to just entertain them. Other times you want to kind of give them a little like, okay, that MIA song is actually they're sampling the Clash Straight to Hell.
Right.
So you play hers and then you play this,
Right.
and then
And
they
then,
go, oh wait,
and then you move on. Right.
yeah. But you're not like, all right, I need to edify y'all.
There's a huge gap between entertainment and thinking that you're training people or teaching people
Yeah.
because entertainment is why you're being hired.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I mean, at the wine gig, I get paid in wine, so I don't even worry about it. It's fun.
You don't even whine, huh?
I know, I don't mind. No, and it's great because I bring people there, and it's like it's just a chill thing. Once it's like usually the 3rd Thursday of every month over there. So
What do you think makes radio stand out among streaming?
well, WWOZ was one of the first radio stations of its nature to stream, and there was a lot of pushback from the board, the people that were like that had to green light the funding for it. So OZ was early on in the streaming thing, and in fact, Mark Cuban owned a streaming
Right.
platform, the machines and everything.
Yep.
So OZ's initial streaming was through his company
Really?
before he sold it.
Wow.
So, and I did a number of interviews with the general manager, David Friedman, who passed away last year. But he, he had to fight for streaming to become a thing. So streaming is a way to reach more people. The challenge is with radio here in town, all you got to do is turn on the radio. The frequency is set to that frequency. That's all you got to do. With streaming, all right, you're going to not terribly different, but you're going through a number of things, and you got this machine. You got to go here, here, here. All you got to do is turn on the radio, and also good radio is local, right? You have a sense of that person is right there in that city with you, even, right?
Right.
A lot of radio most radio isn't like that anymore.
No, it's corporate.
Exactly, and most of it is corporate now.
iHeartRadio.
All that is like, and people dig it. I'm not, whatever, that's your thing. But streaming it's just a tool, right? But what at the heart, when people say I do a podcast, and they ask me, do you do podcasts? And I'm like, well, podcast is just a technology, right?
Right.
It's a way to get it. The format is, or the nature of it being disseminated is different. But really what's at the heart of this is, can you put something together that people will get something from, enjoy,
Right.
or whatever else? So streaming is like a tool. Radio has been around for so long, and it serves so many important purposes and getting the information out there, and add that to the fact that we're in a city that has a sense of itself that's really amazing. And then you've got it, you turn on the radio and you hear people that you know personally, or you hear about something you can do later that night or
Right.
later that week or whatever.
Right.
So, and if you're streaming, I mean, when I DJ'd in Tokyo back in January, at a record club, they have these bars that's just wall-to-wall vinyl, and people go in there and order a drink, and they'll ask the DJ or the bartender, "Can you put this record on after this record?" So they're like they're listening rooms. They're
right.
serious. So in Kyoto and Tokyo, I went to visit a friend in Kyoto, and I set up these DJ gigs. It wasn't hard because I was like, I'm going to bring 150 45s with me. I brought
Wow.
45s, and I'm New Orleans DJ. I got gigs quickly. Open up the door, people are cheering. People are like, George Ingmire. It's like, hi, it's kind of crazy. Okay. But people were walking up to me with WWOZ paraphernalia, swag, because they were supporting it.
Because it was streaming it.
They were streaming it. So
Right.
to bring it full circle, like there's add the power of local radio like WWOZ to the ability to get to other people who don't have anything like this. It's great. It's just it could be a really powerful tool.
Absolutely.
It's an amazing tool. You can just be somebody with some good ideas, and you gather, and you don't have to wait for a broadcast license. You don't have to wait for the crazy amount of equipment, the transmitter, all
Right.
that other stuff. If you can produce it and get it out to people and know how to spread that, I like the way it democratizes
Right.
the
There's
ability.
freedom in it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're not waiting for the network to okay what you're doing here.
Right.
You can do it.
Right.
You're free to do it, and it could be reaching people through that technology. So that's a beautiful thing. The challenge is knowing what is out there,
Right.
and also there's so much out there. How much you got to be able to sit there and
How to decipher what you're going to do different.
yeah.
I mean, because you got 100 million people doing
What
podcasts.
what do you think makes this
This show different?
Elation? I mean, conceptually, I like the name is amazing.
Well, thank you. Well, so this to me, the podcast is about the journey that I have been on in my life, and which is trying to bring back the industry here in New Orleans for recording artists, because I believe we've been forgotten about since Katrina. So when I actually created this company in LA, when I was in LA, and everybody asked me how I came up with the name Elation. It was actually one of the first names I came up with, but I passed on and tried 100 different names in a 3-month period, and ended up going back to Elation because my overall goal was to create a brand of a brand that kind of encompasses everything that I'm trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, entertainment as a whole should bring you elation. There's no reason to be entertained unless you have some sort of elation from it.
Mm-hmm.
The difference I feel like in this podcast that we're doing is I don't care about the clickbait negativity moments. That's not what I'm doing this for. So my whole goal is let's go on and let's talk about what brings you elation in your life.
Sure.
And with that creates good conversation. I always try to tailor it back to entertainment, music, film somehow, because that's what we are as a company.
Yeah.
But music can touch people in any way and in many different forms and create elation for them in that moment.
Yeah.
So whether it's a business entrepreneur who just loves to listen to music, or it's someone who has been in music their whole life. That's what I feel like is a little different about my platform is that I allow people to come in and talk about the positive things that that music or entertainment or this space has brought them.
Sure.
Instead of worrying about those negative moments.
Well, there's a lot of those to dig through right now. So I mean, it's nice to have something to be excited about and positive about, right?
Yeah, well, and like I said, like entertainment should be elation. Like, yes, there are negative moments in it. Yes, we need to talk out those moments.
Sure.
But to bring it up in the context of just trying to get a click is something that I'm not interested in.
It's the algorithm is trying to just drive you to it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, 100%. But I don't do any advertising on my page. Everything's organic. I have zero ads whatsoever on the Elation podcast, and some of ours have gone, north of 500,000 views.
Wow.
And just being organic.
All right.
I think the reason why New Orleans loves this situation is because I've given a platform to a lot of independent people that don't get to go on there and talk about their positive moments.
Sure.
And the sacrificial moments of giving what you do every day, or parts of your life that you've given up to do those moments and to be a part of that expression. Those are just powerful stories and moments, and we all have them.
You mentioned entrepreneur thing, and it's funny because right before COVID, I started a business, or I got an LLC. I wasn't starting a business called Sound Sommelier. The idea being you design music for environments like
Okay.
bookstore or clothing stores, restaurants, whatnot. And I was just thinking, it's like having a DJ there, but the DJ's not there. So it's like you make a playlist. There's already companies doing it all over the place, but they're like big conglomerates, and you buy
Right.
their equipment and all that. Or what I would be doing is I'd be creating a playlist that you could play back in Tidal or Spotify or whatever. So you just create this environment, and I'm just like, all right, so what's the music that we create in this space for these people, and what time of day? Later in the shift, maybe you slow things down a little bit for the restaurant to
Right.
wind it down or whatever earlier, or have special events where it's like carnival time, and people in Austin want a carnival time playlist.
Privatized corporate playlist.
But I
Basically
haven't.
what it is.
If you have any advice on how to get it out there, man,
I mean,
'cause
I don't feel like that's a bad idea, because
it's just a matter of getting people to understand the value of it.
yeah, well, since COVID, spending money on anything that has to do with customer service, I feel like is last minute,
Yeah.
or thought about last.
Sure.
I mean, as an entrepreneur, if my family comes from hospitality. My grandfather owned hotels in town, and some other things. We actually own a part of the Mill House building you guys are in.
Oh, cool.
Which is kind of funny, but that having a personalized playlist for a hotel would be very powerful.
Yeah.
And I believe certain brands feel that way, but most don't.
Sure.
And I feel like that was almost the experience my grandfather had. I was very involved in the businesses when he was alive, but when he was working on getting out of it as he was passing. So we were having these talks about how Hilton and all these brands used to care about the personal perception and the customer service and the attention that you would give to each individual that would walk into the hotel, and how that has changed and to being more about a numbers game and less about the personal experience.
Well, you got people that are, you have your stockholders that are more interested in the bottom line than the individuals that
100%.
take pride in their business and they're face to face with their customers. Whereas now, that's changed. The distance between the consumer and the producer of things is so far that you never actually encounter the person. So there's zero or very little accountability at any moment for any of this
100%.
stuff. And somebody out here is making a bunch of money, and they don't have any skills other
Right.
than green in their pocket.
Right.
And
Yeah,
so
well,
they're,
but being here as long as you have, I mean, some of the best people that you meet here in the city are the bellmen and the guys that were the heart of the city, that knew everywhere to go and knew where to really tell the people to go and appreciate the city. All of those people are gone.
yeah.
You go ask a bellman or a concierge desk now where to go eat. They're going to tell you every corporate entity to go eat at.
Because people are
there's no, they're paid under the table.
Oh,
They have
yeah, they're
lists of
given.
places
Yeah,
that they have to, but that to me has lost a lot of what the city was built on.
yeah,
Because they should be recommending Rodolfo's and real
sure.
locations in the city.
Yeah, that personal touch
That
goes a long
personal
way.
touch. So that goes back to that personal playlist.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely,
but
absolutely.
I feel like it's important. I feel like especially hospitality ways, in restaurants and immersive a bunch of different things, that they had special playlists that specially catered to the type of people that they wanted to sit in those chairs. I feel like it would just create a better environment.
Yeah, versus some algorithm
Oh
kicking
God,
it
don't
out.
get me wrong, Ryan Seacrest.
I mean,
Yeah, they're making money. They're making money. Don't
yeah,
get me wrong.
yeah.
But you don't give any, and it sucks in a city like this, especially since we don't have the outlets that like in New York or in LA has. We don't have a label building. We don't have a publicist. We don't have a marketing building. We don't have any of the
There's
infrastructure
not
for
much
all
of an
that.
industry here, but this
No.
is a place where people have been, like musicians have come. I mean, back in the 50s, like Ray Charles was recording here, and Little Richard was recording here, Etta James was recording here. All these people were coming in. Sam Cooke
It was a
recorded.
source of creativity. My grandfather used to Ponce train on St. Charles,
All right.
and the story of the Ponce train in that bar on St. Charles where Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis,
Was
they
it
would all
the
come.
top floor one?
Well, no. So the top floor used to be a penthouse.
Ah,
The bottom floor one which the piano is still original in there. The
all
piano
right.
with the where you can put the drinks around the bar. It's got the little
Uh-huh.
the table around the piano. That piano was played by Frank Sinatra,
Oh,
Sammy
wow.
Davis, and a bunch of all the guys
Huh.
from that era that used to come. They actually used to like the blueberry muffins,
Huh.
but they would come and they would play in that bar just naturally. They would come drink, play, and smoke in that bar and hang out. So like those moments, like that's what the city's filled with.
Yeah. Well, this is a question for another day, I guess, how to figure out how to get that industry up and running, because it's it's almost like there's an allergy to like industry here. Like people are super talented. There are a lot less talented, making a lot more money.
Yes. Well, we were actually the last guest, and we were just talking about it. There's a little bit of there's a couple things going on. One is, I mean, New Orleans is kind of the basic pushback for corporate systems. We definitely don't conform. So if you think about it in that aspect, the musicians do not want to treat it like a 9-to-5 job, because they don't want a 9-to-5 job. They want to be musicians and have fun and play late nights and do things that what this culture has bred. Also, we just don't have the structure down here to create that music business culture. And I don't know if it's. I mean, I've just keep attributing it to Katrina, because we've kind of been forgot about since Katrina, but even before then, the structure was all over the place. But at
Yeah.
least before then, we had No Limit, we had Cash Money, we had some labels that were doing national attention, that were getting people's attention down here to come down here and do things.
Yeah.
But since Katrina, and both of those labels have left, we have zero infrastructure for these musicians to create a life outside of live musicianship.
Yeah. Well, the industry's also changed because labels aren't as now so much as just
This is a marketing company now.
people are doing their own thing, making Grammy Award winning records on laptops somehow, but then other people who've worked really hard and there might be even promotional behind it don't quite get the break. So it's a lot harder because of the fact that it's democratized too. That's the weird thing.
Well, 200,000 songs a day uploaded.
It's a lot to dig through.
That's a lot to dig through.
Yeah.
100%. But there's still a way to navigate it.
Sure.
And you still need a structure for it. And yeah, as much as label buildings have turned into marketing companies, we don't have any marketing companies. We don't have any publicists. We don't have any A&Rs. We don't have any we don't have any buildings you can walk into to get information that you need to actually be update on the industry.
Yeah. There's occasional meetups about it, but there's not an actual.
Yeah, yeah, and how many people show up to those meetups? It's not a lot. I've been a part of them. You know, it's not. You know,
Yeah.
I'm a voting member of the Recording Academy. I do all that stuff
cool.
with the Grammys. And
Do you sleep? Do you get any sleep at night?
do I get any sleep at night? No, I'm definitely a music producer, so I'm up all night.
That's great, though.
Yeah, well,
I mean, you know, you sleep less when you have more stuff that excites you, but yeah, it's tricky.
it's a gift and a curse, especially when I got a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. But it's a gift and a curse. Yeah, no, I'm definitely a night owl. But I enjoy music. I enjoy the things that I'm trying to do. I enjoy this building and what I think it can be for New Orleans, and what we can do moving forward culturally. But it takes a wave
Sure.
to do it. You know, it can't be me. It's got to be a whole system. It's got to be a whole group of people.
Yeah.
And you know, it's a journey for sure.
Yeah.
It's a journey. But how do you feel WWOZ can help that journey? Because you guys have stayed original.
Well, there's a video team now that's been there since 2015 or 14. So there's more visual now. There was pushback on that too, but so that's another way to get things out there. I think people turn to WWOZ on a regular basis for just I got that gig at Lincoln Center because the woman up at Lincoln Center heard me on streaming. So she knew who I was. She knew that I could bring some sort of vibe there. So I think by OZ just being OZ, that it's going to by just chance of people who have discriminating taste and no good stuff are going to discover things. So there are people.
No, staying original, staying.
I mean,
that
Tank and the
format.
Bangas have blown up, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
I mentioned somebody earlier, the Crow Boys. They're on Universal. And then you got other people who are really hardworking and playing almost every day of their lives, like Alex McMurray. He's one of the best songwriters I've ever heard. He's working all the time, and great guitar player, a number of different outfits. But he's like a worker. He does the equivalent of 9 to 5 because he's booking gigs,
Right.
but it's like 9 till late at night or whatever else. And and I think sometimes people are just happy doing whatever it is they need to do to be here. So there's this kind of like, what is your goal in life?
Right.
Like, I mean, we should all live comfortably and not worry about or having enough food on the table, make sure that we're healthy, we got a good roof over our head, our kids are going to go to a decent school. Yeah, the challenges start adding up, but
Right.
you can get by not as well, but on less here than you can in other places.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of tricky. Like the blessing and the curse of New Orleans is this kind of like we move at 2 speeds, slow and stop. We got like,
Yeah,
the motivations
we're
are there.
a Caribbean city in that sense.
So,
know?
I don't know. I think people will continue to come here to mine our riches. It's just figure out how we can declare our value and make some money from those riches.
No, I agree. And I just think it's about having a certain infrastructure to where people have support to do what they
Sure.
want to do.
Yep.
And they don't have to leave the city to get that support.
Yeah.
I think if we start there, I think we could create some new visions for the music business culture down here. Well, tell me a little bit about the film stuff that you've done.
Well, I run sound on films. I'm a sound guy. I throw mics on people. Boom. I'm kind of a one-man band. I've only worked with one mixer, and it was right before Katrina, believe it or not, that Katrina interrupted that film. But I've never worked on a team. I've always just been like a run and gun guy.
Gotcha.
Commercials. But I worked with Spike Lee when he was here. I was an associate producer and sound guy on a film called Bury the Hatchet, which is a local film my best friend made. He owns a restaurant, N7, but he's a filmmaker, a lover of films, and it was about Mardi Gras Indians. I've traveled to places as a sound person. It's kind of funny because I think of these films I've worked on, but it's more like I'm there to do a job, and sometimes I'm like, oh, I worked on that. it could be a roach spray commercial or whatever. I'm like, wait,
Right.
I ran sound on that commercial or whatever. But mainly it's a technical thing for me. I have a technical role in that. But then
Right.
my own film work is like my grandfather's films. When he died, I ended up with all these 16 millimeter films. So I've taken some of those films, and like one of them was about my uncle who was born with Down syndrome, and I took that film that was on, and I made a short film from it that my grandfather started on, but now it's in the Library of Congress. It's kind of a crazy
That's
story.
crazy.
But yeah, like one of the 25 films the Library of Congress took in on 2006 to the National Film Registry was a film called Think of Me First as a Person. And that's my grandfather's film that I completed. I found the audio like in 2001 or 2. I digitized it. It was on a VHS, and I didn't know what it was, but I was like, I should digitize this because it's on tape that could decay.
Right.
A few years later, I'm going through a box of his films, and I found a 400-foot reel of film, and it's footage of my uncle. So those things go together somehow. I build the film, and then an archivist sees it, and he says, I want to show this to other archivists. All of a sudden, there's a group of archivists who love this film, and they get the Librarian of Congress. There is a Librarian of Congress, right?
Wow.
And his name was James Billington, and was like, we should put this in the National Film Registry. So it became admitted alongside that year Blazing Saddles, Sex, Lies, and Videotape, Groundhog Day, Rocky, Halloween. It was on that list of 25.
Wow.
Right? I made it for a Christmas present, but it ended up being, it took its own life on, like
That's
art can do
awesome.
sometimes. So, and I took his murder mysteries he made in the late 40s and 50s recently and showed them in the Bowery in New York. I added music and like footsteps and gunshots and stuff. He just made these movies on that, home movies that were like murder mysteries. So I got the bug there, and now I'm doing something called Legacy Films and Preservation, where I interview people's parents, grandparents, and make a short film about them. So it's like an oral history.
Gotcha.
So when your kids are like, tell me about grandpa, you're like, oh, wow, we got this film.
Right.
But you also end up with all the raw footage and transcribed. So you have like a recorded history of this person. So I'll do a little bit of research on
Right.
ancestry.com. You give me enough information. And if you haven't scanned the photographs, I'll work with digitizing this stuff. So I kind of help put together a short, media history
Right.
of your relatives. So that's a new venture. Then the challenge is getting the word out, and also trying to figure out how to price point it.
Right.
Because you're in the industry. If you need me, I say, this is what I cost. You're like, well, I got this. We figure something out, but you know what I should cost.
Right.
But when you got somebody who's just wants their grandfather's story or their father's story told,
There's a whole different cost to that.
you got to
Yeah.
figure out how to say, well, this could be $7,500, give or take, with a camera person shooting one interview. Extra days will cost this. They might be like, oh.
Right.
So you got to figure that. That's the thing I'm trying to wrap my head around right now. It's like I have all the skills to do this, but the business side is just trying to figure out how to communicate with people who have no reason to know what this stuff costs.
Correct. Yeah, and they don't know what it costs or what it entails or anything, because otherwise they do it doing.
It's a lot of, yeah, and a lot of them think, oh, I can just do it myself. I'll shoot it on my phone. Yeah, you can, but to shape the story,
Right.
you know,
To produce it, it's
yeah,
actually,
you got to have years of kind of figuring out how to put together a story and figuring
Right.
out like there's something I could put this here and here, and then you've got a story.
Right. 100%.
So,
How do you feel the film industry in New Orleans has changed over the last few years?
well, I mean, it's changed everywhere in a lot of ways because of, for one thing, there was an oversaturation of stuff produced by all these, your Netflix and your HBO Maxes and Amazon and all that. So there's been this oversaturation. So now they've pulled back. There was the strike. There's the tax incentives that are on shaky ground because there's other places offering better tax incentives than Louisiana. Louisiana seems kind of very disinterested in bringing the film industry back or encouraging them to return.
I know.
So there's all these things at play. So right now, it's kind of shaky. I've always been kind of on the outskirts of it. I haven't really worked on features, so I've never been at the mercy of that ecosystem.
Gotcha.
I'll show up and work on the EPK crew, the the electronic press kit crew, or the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm generally like on commercials and whatnot. But I know a lot of people in the industry. A lot of them are suffering. A lot of them are at, some of them are working in restaurants now. Some of them have. One of them has become a radiologist. So it's a little scary.
It's scary, yeah. No, I know a lot of people that have moved because of it.
Yeah, when you move to Albuquerque, well, then there's a bunch of people already do it. So who knows what's coming up, and there's a lot of variables.
Productions take years to put together. So
yeah.
So those the last couple of years that we've been fumbling tax credits, they've been preparing to do shit other places.
Yeah.
So it takes a while for things to recreate themselves.
And we're not in a good. I don't know. I kind of feel like there might be some sort of I think that they're going to get their heads right up in Baton Rouge about this, but it's going to take a while for any of those little moves for them to work their way
to where if somebody who's going to spend $50 million on a film actually feels comfortable coming down here and spending money.
Yeah. It's a great city to shoot in. It's a great state to shoot in, but people build sets instead if they're dealing with so much aggravation.
Yeah.
There's a French Quarter in Canada.
Now AI too. I mean,
AI has got its. I use AI for sound like cleanup and noise reduction. It's really amazing. There's stuff about AI I love, and then there's the other stuff.
We've all seen Terminator.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we've been told a few different times how this is going to end up, but I tell my wife all the time. My wife is not a film buff, but I tell her all the time. I was like, you can pretty much predict the future if you watch enough film.
Yeah. I also think like us having a conversation won't be replaced by AI. Like
live music will never be replaced by AI.
Live music won't be replaced by AI. There's certain services that won't be replaced by AI. There's some shifts, but it's better to know what this stuff is and understand it, possibly make use of it.
Oh no, use it as a tool.
I put together an invoice using ChatGPT. I had all these different hours. I was like, I don't want to add all this stuff up. I dropped it in there and it's format this and
it's the best assistant in the world until it becomes bigger than you. But I'm not going to be negative in AI in this conversation. I'm excited about
it's a tool.
The future. We got to use it. Absolutely.
Like I said, streaming's a tool. This is all the tools. We just have to figure out, don't put the tools in the wrong hands, and if they do, you got to figure out a way to push back on it.
Absolutely.
And here we are in a city that, the funkiness of this city will never be, you can't replicate that.
No, not at all. Definitely can't replicate New Orleans. And
No.
I'm a true believer in that after being around this country. But listen, I appreciate the conversation
Absolutely.
today. And thanks for coming through. Please tell me any socials that you want to share and WWZ stuff. And
well, I would say wwozdj@gmail.com is a way to get a hold of me. Or my company, Sounds Traveling, @gmail.com.
Okay.
I got a couple Instagram grip. One's just George Ingmire, and the other one's DJ Crushed Velvet.
DJ Crushed Velvet. I remember that name, and I wanted to bring up. I'm sure you like Pink Floyd. Crushed Velvet as your DJ name.
Here's the story. I was at DBA getting ready to do a set after George Porter.
Okay.
And Tom, the former owner of DBA, just put a table out. A lot of times they give you these ugly plastic fold-out tables. They look like junk.
Right.
So I would bring this roll of crushed velvet, this burgundy crushed velvet. I put it on the table because I was like, this looks cool and shiny. And Tom's like, man, you should be DJ Crushed Velvet. And I went, wait a second. I started to see it. Is there a DJ Crushed Velvet? Like just to Google it.
Uh-huh.
Is there a DJCrushedVelvet.com? Nope. Before I even went on to do my set, I bought DJCrushedVelvet.com. That was the birth of DJ Crushed Velvet.
That's awesome.
And it fits kind of my approach to DJing, which is like there's this kind of like silkiness, shininess to it, crushed velvet. You think of like I began in the Quiet Storm era where there was a show called Quiet Storm. It was a syndicated like black radio, kind of like smooth, belly rubbing, baby making music. But then then there's the other edge to it, which is like there's a flashiness to it. It just kind of felt right, and it's also silly.
Right.
Like my friend Aaron's like, you should be George Ingmire. Everyone knows George Ingmire. I'm like, well, okay, well I can be that too. They know me that way because of OZ. It's a challenge. You got to figure out what you call yourself, where
right.
you're at.
Yep.
Because more
Yep.
people are going to be like, oh, I know who George Ingmire is. And Crushed Velvet is a chance for me to be a little more over here.
Right. Change your character a little bit.
But DJ Crushed Velvet, you can see some stuff, and you can go to SoundCloud, George Ingmire, and you can hear a number of DJ sets. And I've got DJ sets, radio documentaries. So there's different kind of, and some of the creative ambient music that I've made over the years, and
Awesome.
Ableton and whatnot. So, like, a man of many hats.
Awesome.
So, yep.
Awesome. Well, great. Well, thanks for coming through today.
Absolutely.
I appreciate the conversation.
No, this is super cool. This is, I've never done anything like this, believe it or not.
Well, awesome.
So,
well, I'm glad to have you, and I'd love to be on the radio one day with you on the show.
Yeah.
So I know I did Murph's show. We talked about music.
Well, I'm a free agent now. I just sit in on shows.
Okay.
My last regular show was Ash Wednesday 2020, right before we had this
Right before you had
COVID thing.
Yep.
If I would have known, I would have still kept that show because I was like, what was I thinking? But I gave up that so I could just freelance
stuff
a little bit more and play. I had, I was like, I'm working one day a week. I'm not working. I'm volunteering. I was like, I need to make other things, maybe money on that day.
Maybe money.
So, but yeah.
Funny how that happens.
But yeah, I'm on the air on a regular basis. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, great. Well, you guys look for George, please. And I appreciate you guys for watching. And if you'd like to see more, please like and subscribe to the page. And I'll check you next time.
All right.